Move slightly onto this, and there's something back onto good friends of ours, Maccabi Tel Aviv, of course, who got their comeuppance against Valve-based Stuttgart a couple of weeks ago. They got beaten 4-1, of course, in the Europa League. But some of their fans were doing exactly what we said they would do, and the reason why they had to be. Again, these are not fans; these are criminals who go around following a club, giving the club a bad name. People can say whatever with the club officials. Club officials have been superb in many, many areas. They've been bullied by these psychopathic fans. But this is then what happened in the game against Valve Stuttgart, when Stuttgart fans were. There were chants about Palestine. That is a known fact. There was about free Palestine, and of course, then this came back from the Maccabi fans. So obviously that wasn't the Elon Musk Roman salute. That was NAZI salute from Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. There was also misbehavior with some of those fans. And as a fan of myself, there's people who are hopping onto this and saying that people are, if you ask any questions about Israel, in any way, shape, or form, you are a Jew hater.
Anti-Semite, exactly.
And anti-Semites, it's like, no, like, first of all, Semites are also Arabs. That's Arabs are Semites. So Muslims, Christians who are from that region, they're also Semites. That's just a fact. And if you are, and I mentioned this actually on Twitter yesterday, if I'm against what Russia is doing in Ukraine, doesn't mean I hate Russia or Russians. I don't like the actions of the government in doing that. If I believe that, for example, the absolute scum of the earth who were holding up Nazi banners in Dublin following Shakhtar Donetsk when they played Shamrock Rovers a couple of weeks ago, I don't hate all Ukrainians, or I don't hate Ukraine. I do not agree or do not like that kind of stuff being brought into my hometown. Now, Andrew, we did mention before we came on air that the youth athletes and so on are being allowed in from Belarus and Russia, and there's these sanctions being dropped against them. And the IOC have made it very clear through Christy Coventry, who's a very, it's great that she's there, like first African heading up the IOC, and she's doing a great job so far. But there are people who are hitting it down. Of course, the Baltic states, the three of them, Nordic countries were complaining that, all like these dirty Russians and Belarusians. This is what the word is used, dirty, should never be allowed into sports arena ever. So we have that going on, and yet the same states are happily backing Israel in. What do we do now, Andrew? Because it's going to get worse, especially coming towards the World Cup. If Ukraine go through, it's going to get worse and worse and worse, especially for the Olympics for next year as well. Is there any hope on the horizon? And it looks like UEFA completely derogated their responsibility at FIFA as well in terms of fan safety.
Well, I'm going to be permanently concerned, regardless of what actions are taken, because, I mean, look, I don't like being an apologist for a self-centered business corrupt organization like FIFA, but there's only so much they can do. No matter what measures they take, idiots will idiot. Hooligans will hooligan. You just simply can't guarantee, no matter what you do, that idiots will not use whatever platform they can get their hands on to do what they say or they think, or the clicks on their YouTube channel tell them is correct. They will do whatever they want. They will find a way. So, I mean, any discussion about whether Israeli teams should or should not be allowed, Belarusian teams should or should not be allowed to compete, athletes should be allowed to compete, you can expand that to a dozen other countries, regions around the world. Any discussion reminds people that there is attention on them. It's a lose-lose situation. About and the athletes, the sports people who are the ones caught in the middle of it, they're the ones who suffer from as a result of this. But we've repeatedly said, and we've said it regardless of which nation we're referring to, if a nation, for whatever reason, mostly, almost always, not from a fault of the sporting teams or players, but the country itself is involved, whether it's their fault or not, whether you support them or not, whether they are, if they are involved in an incredibly tense geopolitical situation, bottom line is the safest option is to not allow them to compete. And the problem we've said again and again and again is people try and turn what is a wide societal issue into a team sport debate. You say anything against, like you mentioned at the top of this segment, you say anything criticising the involvement of an Israeli team, you're an anti-Semite, you're anti-Jew. It's like, no, I'm anti-danger. It happens in this case to be an Israeli side, or a side with links to Jewish supporters, whatever you want to say. But it's nothing to do with their identity. It's to do with safety. And people cannot wrap their head around, and will not. They never will, because there's currency to be made, whether it's financial currency to hike up prices, whether it's political currency to stay in power, like the spineless man who's now banned from pubs. Well, he doesn't like banning, does he? He wants everybody to be allowed everywhere. And imagine what a lovely kumbaya that would be. Comes around, goes around, right?
Exactly. Look, and we'll mention there a little bit of kudos to UEFA, because they say sanctioned. They haven't sanctioned. They have fined. They got fined €20,000 for this behaviour. Okay, so because they were chanting. Okay, so again, Stuttgart, where there is quite a few people who might be angry, as in Muslims who might be, and not just Muslims, but who are angry with what's going on in the Middle East. And these scumbags were mocking civilian deaths, okay, and calling for death to Arabs. So in Stuttgart, that's, if you do that, like you're risking getting thumped. And also they said that it resembled NAZY or NSEI salutes. They were clearly salutes. Now, of course, the UEFA and so on, they didn't have such issues surrounding Ukrainians who were doing the same thing in Germany and Poland and in Ireland. They were like, oh, well, like we have to understand there are people under attack. So Israel, they would say. Okay, so Maccabi, they haven't, they have turned around and said, they've sort of like in let's say limited statements, they've said that yes, we understand that like some fans were behaved badly, and we will look to try and resolve this. Okay, and of course at the same time, Bayern Munich and Eintracht Frankfurt were also got hit with fines for their fans' bad behavior. And it's kind of one of those things that there should be an away fan ban for Maccabi, but it was suspended. Okay, it was suspended. All right, so that ban was put on them, but they said that if they committed a similar offence within 2 years, that fine will, or that sort of sanction will be put back into place. So it's kind of like it's a bit of nonsense, but it just seems to be just one rule for one and one rule for another. And